Okay, calling the Surveillance Advisory Board committee to order. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United
And the
States.
Surveillance Advisory Board
Republic stand one
committee to order. So we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Moving on to roll call.
Yes, Chair Lee,
Here.
Board Member Owen,
Here.
Board Member Stewart.
Here.
Board Member Cohen Thompson,
Present.
Vice Chair Moreno,
Present.
and Board Member Ross.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Thank you. And then on the consent calendar, we have the approval of meetings from meeting minutes from our last meeting, June 26th.
So moved. Second.
There was one small amendment.
That is correct. Which Board Member Ross communicated to me in email. I'll fix that. His name was omitted in one of the
Oh.
votes, so. Board Member Owen,
Here.
Board Member Cohen Thompson.
Yes.
Board Member Cohen Thompson, okay. Oh, sorry. Board Member Stewart,
Yes.
Chair Lee,
Yes.
Vice Chair Moreno,
Yes.
and Board Member Bros.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any report from the board secretary?
Nothing much to report other than there will be no meeting in August. City Council takes a recess, so we will resume operation in September. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and any report from our city attorney?
Nothing to report this evening, Chair.
And we don't have our city council liaison.
Yeah, he was not going to make it
Okay,
today.
and
Yep.
nothing was submitted?
No.
Okay. All right, so report from the chair. I don't have anything to report. But any members of the committee wish to speak, which report? No.
I would like to get maybe a recap of what happened with the surveillance towers from the last city council meeting.
That's one of the items
Okay.
today being discussed.
And just to be clear, a recap of the discussion of the city council, Tuesday's city council discussion. Okay, all right, thank you. All right, and then, okay, on the action calendar, we have consideration and review of the flock gunshot detection technology after 1 year of beta testing, and recommendations to the city council to continue use of the technology or to discontinue use of the technology. All right.
Yes, I can go ahead and tee that up for you. There is detailed report that I provided in the staff report that is in your packet, but Captain Batista can go ahead and complete that presentation. The whole idea is that the 1 year or the beta test has been completed. Surveillance Advisory Board had numerous opportunities to weigh in on that technology. And at this point, Police Department is finding that the technology is usable and it's actually very helpful for the department in solving cases. So they want to they're recommending that City Council move forward with the procurement of that product. And also they have secured funding from sources, Measure P and other sources that will enable them to purchase this equipment. So I'll turn it over to Captain Batista to give you more detail.
Good evening, Board. I just wanted to give everyone an overall review of our Flock Raven program. So the Flock Raven is essentially our gunshot detection equipment that we have placed strategically throughout the city in specific areas based on data that we have gathered that have suffered the most gun violence. Some of the pros of Raven are when you have multiple shots fired calls in the area where dispatch is unable to pinpoint an exact location for officers, Raven will give you an approximate very good location to where it actually occurred. There's also an immediacy of locating victims to provide life-saving measures. Uncooperative victims not providing their location or call 911 will help officers locate a victim and or a scene of a crime. Also, it provides anonymity for citizens afraid or unwilling to call the police about shots heard calls. Just a few cons regarding the Raven are we don't have it everywhere in the entire city. We absolutely need more coverage. So there will be calls of shots fired that are not accompanied by a Raven alert. Also, only clusters of coverage in areas of Vallejo based on the statistical data. I just wanted to also provide a timeline during our Raven testing, beta testing phase of the progress that we've made. So during June 25 of last year and September 3rd of last year, we began training for the Raven system. On September 6th of last year is when we actually went live with the beta testing. The department was informed that Raven was live for beta testing, and links to previous training was also provided to the department for reference. On September 11th of last year, we implemented Raven with dispatch. And the notifications, we changed the notifications. It's like a call notification. So we call it a 1075 for our shots fired in the area. So we now added 1075R to indicate a Raven hit. And those are designated as a priority 2 call. That same day, training was required. Email was sent to patrol supervisors to have training completed by September 27th of last year to ensure that all Raven users were properly trained prior to use. By September 27th of last year, all users completed the proper Raven training. And on October 10th of last year, I met with flock engineers just to discuss some improvements that we could probably use for the whole program. I wanted to highlight just a few cases that we have had using this Raven technology. On May 12th of this year, we received a Raven alert for multiple gunshots in the 2500 block of Sonoma Boulevard. The dispatch call for service showed that a Raven alert alerted to multiple gunshots heard in the area in the 2500 block of Sonoma Boulevard, and a victim called to state that a subject had shot at his vehicle and he'd been struck once in the stomach. One adult victim was located with non-life-threatening injuries. For this case, the original call for service was actually in the area. Officers were actually dispatched in the area of Broadway and Tennessee Street. The Raven alert was in the 2500 block of Sonoma Boulevard, which is Sonoma and Tennessee Street. And that's where the incident actually occurred. So it actually helped the officers with a more expeditious respond and being able to locate the victim. My second example we have is multiple gunshot alerts on May 3rd at multiple locations in the Country Club Crest area. That same day and time, gunshots were heard around the 1600 block of Fairgrounds. Raven alerted within multiple areas of the crest. One victim was located on scene and the second self-transported to a hospital, both with non-life-threatening injuries. These multiple alerts are usually indicative of a rolling gun battle between 2 groups. So this ultimately helped us provide the fields of fire and tracking of shooting locations. The third example I have is regarding multiple gunshot alerts, again, in the Crest area. And we ended up having a walk-in gunshot wound victim at Kaiser. And it ultimately, unfortunately, the victim ultimately passed away and it was deemed a homicide. Again, detectives were able to determine that this was a rolling gun battle, and Raven directed units to locations they otherwise would not have found if not for the Raven alerts. The last example I have is a multiple gunshot alert in the 500 block of Capitol Street on October 6th of last year. The call for service came in with a victim shot, and the subject was contacted and arrested, and a suspect was actually ultimately arrested with a firearm recovered. For this case, the victim that was shot was actually unable to call 911, and Raven was able to direct officers where to find this victim. So ultimately, possibly saving his life. So, and those are the 4 confirmation stories that I have. Was there any questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So previously you shared the sort of log of all of the alerts you're getting from Raven. It's a lot of gunshots. So I'm pretty sure you're not sending an officer to every one of those. So what are you using to decide like when to actually dispatch something? What are you using as this sort of secondary evidence to decide to send people?
Great question, sir.
Yeah.
So the Raven 1075R distinguishing as a Raven alert is actually a priority to call. So if there are officers available, we do send officers. However, if they are tied up on other calls or there are other higher priority calls pending, there are other factors such as an independent caller calling it in, a witness calling it in, gunshots heard in the area from someone else, things of that nature that will bump it up to a priority one. Yes, sir.
Through the chair. In the incident where the young man was not able to call in, how would you have determined to go to there? Because there was no call in and the victim was not able to call. So what is in the system that would give you to understand that that was a priority if there were other priorities going on at the same time?
Yeah, right. Let me find the time of call for that one then.
That was the last one.
Mhm. So that was actually at 1:36 a.m.
Oh, in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And
okay.
so the way the Ravens work is that they actually triangulate and give an approximate location of where to find that gunshot. And on those alerts, you're actually able to listen to how the gunshots sound. So if an officer is inclined to do so, they can actually view it or listen to it and to make their own determination if they believe it was a gunshot or not.
Thank
So,
you.
yes, ma'am.
Thanks, Captain, for those really useful and poignant examples of how the technology can be used. I wanted to begin asking the question of whether there's any attempt by the Vallejo Police Department to evaluate policing effectiveness with now it's like 1 year of data, 1 year using Raven versus the effectiveness of policing prior to that, and just kind of see if we can have use maybe like the year prior as like a baseline, so we can as a control, so we can evaluate what policing regarding gunshots detection, using both persons calling in or police on the scene hearing shots and then acting on those or being dispatched or assigned. So if there's any attempt at gathering statistics and follow-up regarding gunshots related crimes prior to flock being used, and then also during the beta test. So I think it would be helpful for the SAB to just kind of see effectiveness in policing pre and post the beta test, and I think the city council can definitely obviously benefit from that in informing their decision to move forward.
And just to clarify, Charlie, what metrics are you looking at to measure? Like what are you looking at? Like response time? Are you looking at?
That's a great question, and that's what I wanted to defer to the police department in terms of determining metrics for effectiveness that can compare pre flock and then post institution, the post flock beta period.
Okay, to the chair, can I interject? When you first started that report, you spoke of the benefits of this as opposed to prior before you used flock. So I'm not sure why we would want some additional research when he just showed the comparison.
What comparison are you?
Well, when he started the report, he talked about, he presented that flock, the Raven allowed them to do a more specific tracking and a location and a response time, and to be able to determine if it was a priority. Well, if we didn't have it, then we would not have that what he just talked about was a good thing. So
That's
I'm not
exactly,
understanding why we would go back and ask for another report when he just gave that report and he's telling the benefits of it.
Well, that's just, you know, one example. And I'm trying to understand what metrics the police department is using, you know, internally to evaluate whether Flock is productive in terms of police, follow-ups and arrests, et cetera. So that's, you know, that's ultimately the question.
I think I would have a question on what like the captain said, what are the metrics you're looking for? Because a lot of that was not available. So the answer would be, well, how many shots fired calls did we get? Well, there's several that were not called in because we didn't get a reporting, right? Maybe there was somebody who didn't call it in. Maybe people would just ignored it. There's other ones that could be there were shots fired, but are we looking at just how many victims there were versus the calls that have just occurred? So you got two different things. So I guess I'm a little bit confused on how we would quantify that. And if you guys have an idea, we can actually look into it.
Well, I mean, okay, great. I appreciate the discussion here. So ultimately I wanted to try to understand what the police department, Vallejo Police Department is using to determine effectiveness, productivity of the system. So ultimately, you know, I would think it's the police department's prerogative to determine what those metrics are in order internally to determine, to conclude whether it's a good idea to move forward.
yes, Charlie, I completely understand your question. However, it's difficult to measure that specifically because like for the last one I gave you, for the last story I gave you
Sure.
regarding the person that was unable to call,
Right.
and we actually were able to locate him. That, like we said in the beginning, for the pros, right? There are citizens who don't even call Flock, so, or who don't even call in shots fired calls. So we have no way of measuring unreported data.
No, totally.
And then compared to now, you know what I'm saying? So
Absolutely, absolutely. And those are very relevant pros. You know, thank you for presenting on those. But my, you know, next question after the presentation of the pros and the cons as you know, you presented is from a statistics, from a arrests, or from a metric point of view. Have you looked at pre-Flock versus post-beta usage, and to determine if there's any increase in arrests, or there's increase in follow-up based on you know, response time, all of these sorts of,
well,
you know.
I will tell you, Chair Lee, that unfortunately for our city, we have a ton of gunshots year to date, and you can see that from the usage reports, and you know, and to actually quantify the amount of arrests affected as a result of Flock, I don't know how we would even start to do that. This tool, this is a reactive tool, right? This is just another tool that helps us with combating crime and locating victims and helping us locate crime scenes, things of that nature. It's a reactive tool that we use. So it is only supplementing what we are currently doing.
And Shirley, if I can jump in for a second. So I just want to remind the board that prior to Raven's beta, we didn't have any technology. We relied on calls received being in dispatch. And as Captain Batista pointed out, a lot of people don't even call in. So the numbers were not there. But now that we have this beta under our belt for a year, there are some numbers, and that's the stories he's relating to.
Great.
To
Great.
follow up on that, I think maybe we're talking past each other.
What result?
Excuse me, sorry.
Yeah.
So
Please.
I'm not sure that we've really gotten to the heart of it, which is what are the metrics? You're saying this is a big pro, and you've listed a few pros, you've given a few examples, but I'm not seeing metrics in the data that was provided to us to indicate that or an assessment of any sort to say, this is successful because we can look at these numbers and say, this is our metric for success. And as you probably know, one of the reasons that this board rejected the beta testing years ago was because there were no metrics presented. So has something changed? Are there metrics now? How are you making the assessment that this is a good idea?
It's just based on the success stories that I provided.
So
And
no
there's
numbers.
actually more, there are actually more, but if there are specific metrics that you would like for us to provide, that's why we're trying to get a little bit of guidance
Okay.
onto.
Well, okay, I mean, your last example could be the seed of a metric, which is how many arrests stemming directly from block intervention or, involvement occurred. And that would be, one metric that I think would be helpful. But it's just also, okay, maybe we can approach it from a different angle. Can we get a listing of all of the criminal metrics that the Vallejo Police Department evaluates to determine effectiveness of not just this program, but all programs? So maybe that could be the seed for the kind of relevant metrics that we're trying to get stemming from block involvement.
Does the police department have staff for that? I'm
Okay.
asking you, Jerry.
We also had offered we offered to assist the police in gathering data and
Well,
for
I
this
don't
as well.
know if the public can do that, want to micromanage what's going on, and this kind of research when we're getting positive results. I'm late coming in, so make me understand, do we want results or we just want a lot of statistical reports?
I think we want both.
Yeah.
We want to see how are we measuring that this technology is working. Is it just, oh yeah, we're saving people's lives? Great. How many lives saved is
But
the
for a
value?
year, do we have enough already results to really go back and give you that data when you say you want to go back? They've only done it for a year, that he's reporting for a year, correct? So.
But we can evaluate that against the year prior. How many shots called were reported? And we can do that. Yeah, we can do 1 year. We can do, a similar time frame. But we could look at the same stats from how many arrests were made from somebody calling in a shots call. How many arrests were made from the Raven shots called? Comparison. Is it not really higher? Is it the same? We can try to take some of the data to evaluate, okay, this technology is really working, or maybe it's failing here, but it's saving lives there. And then I think the point of the finding the metrics piece is, how are we really evaluating? Are we just saying, yay, it's saving some lives, it's great? Are we, oh, it's saving lives, it's, we were hoping to get 5 lives saved this year. We wanted 10 arrests connected, using this technology, whatever. But we don't really have that. We just have, success stories. We have a few of the cons that are happening, but we don't have, more concrete data to say, yes, this is amazing. We should invest in this and give them more money, buy more to fill up the Vallejo with more Raven so we can save lives. But, where's the data to say, yes, we need to do that? Because that was one of the reasons why the SAB did not want to vote for installing Raven, because there were no metrics. That was one of the reasons.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why the board didn't pass a resolution in favor of blocks. So, so just I just wanted to finish my thought here. So at the bare minimum, since that was on the table and that was voted on by the previous SOB, and why the majority of the SOB voted against the recommendation, singling out, what helpful metrics the police department can use to help evaluate efficacy of the program. that's still unanswered. And that's something that, we do have success stories. That's great, but we don't have the kind of evaluative metrics that we can be used to observe the productivity of the program. And that's what, so the Saab wanted that higher in 2022, and we're still asking for that because that's going to help inform whether we can make that recommendation, and it'll obviously be helpful for the city council to also determine.
So, so as I stated earlier, the Raven equipment is. Thank you. It is a supplement to what we currently do. So if you're looking at metrics that would show if we had more arrests as a result of Raven by itself, I'm not going to be able to show you that because Raven, like I said, it's a supplement, right? So there are additional factors that affect how we respond to crimes, what crimes we respond to. Again, whether it's additional and independent shots fired called in the area, the sound of gunshots, the sound of our officers hearing gunshots, casings located on a scene. There are several things, and it's not Raven alone, that would show a specific metric as to the results of our investigation, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thank you. You mentioned earlier that whenever something is called in, it has a R, the number 1075R. So then you have that data like, okay, the call was, this is connected. So maybe Raven didn't lead exactly to the arrest, but it got you there. You found a victim, gunshot shells, you had enough suspicion, evidence to go and apprehend somebody, and that led to arrest. That's not tracked?
No, so I can certainly pull up data that has a shots fired call with a Raven hit, either a link to the incident or like a separate incident. I could try and figure that out.
Yeah, because I think that's, Raven, while it's not the end all be all, it's helping to lead to, found victim, the suspect, apprehension, arrest, got, a million people off the street because of this technology. It's not the only reason why, but it's helping to connect the dots to it. And I think that kind of data will help us understand a little bit more like, okay, yes, this is amazing. We should, vote yes for.
In your report, did you not say a person was arrested as a result of the Raven call? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
So my counterpoint is that one person was arrested, and that's from one story, but was that the only one person this whole year that got arrested? When maybe the technology isn't the right technology, we can find other technology that could arrest 10 more people that are connected with these gunshots.
So you said you're using other supplemental or other technologies as well as Raven, correct? So Raven is not the only one that you're using other technologies, or is it just Raven now?
We're using other techniques to.
Right, okay, so then it's the other technique that I'm presuming that you want to know how many arrests came out of that.
Well, not for this, because this is specific on Raven and the gunshot technology piece, in that this technology, how is it leading to results other than a one arrest?
Board member, Boyd.
Yeah, I have a question for the chair. So this conversation seems to be focusing on the effectiveness of the Raven system, but I understood that the purpose of this board is to look at the risks of deploying this technology to the people of Vallejo. And this seems more like a conversation about whether the money is well spent. And I'm wondering, is that inside of our mandate or not? Because that I'm a little surprised by the conversation.
Well, my understanding is the board's purview is to look at all privacy aspects, information aspects, and efficacy aspects of surveillance technology in general. So,
So efficacy is part of our mandate. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask the city attorney's office if they can clarify? I'm looking at what Councilmember Ganser had brought up on in regards to the red light cameras and what the purview is, and what the surveillance or the technology is, just like Board Member Owens has talked about. And I just want to make sure that, like he said, we're going, it's kind of going around in a circle, and I want to make sure that we're making the best use of all the time. And if there's something else that the board, that you guys are asking for in regards to the surveillance side of it that we should be looking at, or why, what privacy concerns there are.
The primary purpose of the board is to advise the city council on technology that's used to do surveillance. It's not all technology, it's surveillance technology. And primarily to advise on privacy implications and impacts that the surveillance equipment might have on the public, how it might affect members of the public who are just innocently, for example, walking down the sidewalk and are caught by surveillance technology somehow, and that information is recorded. That's the primary purpose.
and I just wanted to also clarify, I'm a privacy attorney, and part of the subject matter in privacy law is evaluating purpose and effectiveness of any kind of data collection and usage. Because if any kind of technology that is not limited in terms of purpose, effectiveness, then it goes to the purpose limitation of any kind of privacy.
All right, well, this is interesting. I'm very familiar with the concept of purpose because that's the basis of consent, but effectiveness is new. So is this an aspect of California privacy law?
It's an aspect of all privacy law, and that's the proportionality of a technique or technology that's being used, whether that seeks to affect the purpose of the technology or the technique, and so that's used in terms of weighing the effectiveness of a new technology or new technique to collect or use personal information.
Okay, thank you.
I can point you to the specific section in the ordinance, just so that people are aware. 2.27.030 duties and functions. It would be paragraph A that tells you what your duties and functions are. And just to read it, to advise the city and city council on best practices to protect the safety, privacy, and civil rights of Vallejo residents in connection with the acquisition, borrowing, and or use of city departments of surveillance technology that collects, analyzes, processes, or stores information about Vallejo residents.
Thank you, City Attorney.
You're welcome.
We had a
Okay,
question.
It's a general, this is very general, all right. As a citizen, we've got these cameras that, like, I cross the street. I'm on camera, I'm on the film. If I've not committed a crime, I need you to tell me, because this is what you do. I've not committed a crime. So what would be my issue that I was caught on camera walking across the street? How would that I kind of hear you. If I'm wrong, correct me. I'm new coming in. He's an attorney. He does this.
I mean, I'll be happy to talk about that maybe after
But
the session,
when you
because
say privacy,
we're trying to
I'm a
focus
citizen.
on the action items here, which is, the flock related technology, and then also the.
Well, we did get over into privacy, but
Well, I
it's
mean,
fine.
it's all
I'll get
privacy,
into that.
but sure.
Okay, thank you.
I'd actually like to respond to a question by Lieutenant Tai. You're asking about the privacy concerns for this specific technology. The one thing that comes to mind is the placement of these through the city is not random, right? They're placed based on your knowledge of where things are more, there's more likely to be gun violence, right? Is that true? Yes. So, which makes a lot of sense. But I think given that, you need to be very careful not to use the results of this system to make any conclusions about the level of gun violence, because you've sort of predisposed the system to detect more things in a place that you see as. So it's not a good measure of the safety of the system. So that's the one thing I think it's a trap we need to avoid, is looking at that data and feeling it in any way represents the safety of that area. I think it's not a random sample through the city. It's a specific sample. So that's the one thing that I would caution you about.
Oh, you're correct, sir. That's why the captain was speaking about, these are only places, we don't have them throughout the city, so the data we would have would be based on just where they are, what's going on with that. We would not be able to do a true, well, the entire city's covered, because I'll just use, say, for example, there is no Raven technology in this section, we'll say section, no numbers and anything else, just say section 1 does not have it, but section 5 does have it. Well, anything that happened in section 1 would never be captured by Raven, and say there were things that were going on there. There would be no measurable amount to be able to say it's true. Or you could say in that specific block or that area.
And
Yeah,
that's absolutely true, because we have actually had shootings and homicides in areas that were not, that did not have any Raven equipment. So therefore, no alert was provided to the police department.
We have a question here.
Sure, yeah. Sort of following up on that, have you had incidents of showing up to a alert that turned out to be a false positive? Or are there incidents where you show up to an alert where maybe there was a gun shop, there's no longer activity? And what sort of impact does the police showing up in these neighborhoods have?
So yes, that we have had that where a gunshot was heard, or we received a 1075R in a specific location. However, there are things that can affect that, whether it is someone that is shooting off a revolver that's not gonna leave any evidence or shell casings at a scene, or there's no victims or witnesses in the area as well. So it all depends on, because again, this is an approximate location, right? And the ultimate tell of a shooting occurring is the street riddled with casings, or a victim, or an actual gunshot victim, or worst case scenario, a deceased victim, right? So that is, sorry, to answer your question, yes, there are times where an officer can come on scene and locate nothing.
Were there numbers about alerts that resulted in no findings or no shell casings found?
Yes. I mean, it doesn't say specific to that, but it will say confirmed or not confirmed. So I've had our dispatchers put in like an incident number that's associated with something where we got a Raven alert, and then it ended up being in, say, the Solano Sheriff's jurisdiction. So they ended up dealing with it. So there's something of that nature. And then there's also, we actually get Raven alerts, like way north Vallejo. I guess there's a property close to American Canyon where there's, I don't know if it's an official shooting range, but they shoot rounds out there on property. So we get those as well.
Is that data indicated anywhere in the information we have?
No, it's not.
Okay. Is that data used to evaluate whether the system has been effective over the past year during the beta testing?
No, we haven't compared it to anything previous. So
to sum up the sort of discussion we had on metrics,
Mhm.
and I think there were some ideas raised by my fellow board members about how to develop certain metrics to see whether the system during that beta testing has been effective.
Sure.
But ultimately, I would sort of expect that to come from you, the police department, in that you're proposing to continue the program. So if the proposal is, let's go beyond the beta testing and extend the use of Flock, I'd like to see some sort of reason behind that beyond, the examples you gave. 4 examples are great, but we have numbers, but no analysis of the numbers. I want to know how you came to the conclusion that it has been effective.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. That's a great question, great point there. And related to that, does the police department post anywhere the kind of criminal statistic data that that the police department uses to evaluate not just this, but any program. And if that's posted, can you share that list of, statistics, metrics, because that might be, that might be relevant to Flock.
Again, which specific statistics are you?
Well,
We post a
well,
lot on our website.
Great, great.
And we post yes, we post
sure.
a ton of
Okay.
data,
Great.
statistical data.
I would like to know, I would like to look at exactly the statistics that you'll use to evaluate productivity of a program. That would be great. If you could share that list, that would be wonderful.
I think I'm with Kevin. I'm confused on when you're saying a product being, okay, so
What criminals, any kind of criminal related statistics that you use to evaluate any program that the police department deploys?
I don't think that exists with
You
us.
don't have.
Not that I'm aware of, and
Okay.
Through the
What-
chair, we do have a daily incident incident log that is on the Vallejo PD's website that lists all the incidents that is posted on the daily basis.
Right, but like.
But it does not give you statistics. No, you have to go and churn your own numbers, but it gives you a raw data of all the incidents that were recorded by the dispatch that night.
Okay, okay, like a relevant statistic would be response time for incidents that have been called in, regardless of how it's been, it's been flagged, either through Flock or a call. So that would be, that would be a relevant statistic that can be used to evaluate Flock, right?
So would you like a average response time that is
Not just
Raven related?
not just not yet, yes, but also a list of statistics that you collect for analyzing whether a particular program is effective or not. That's ultimately what we're asking.
So do we have a crime analyst now doing any of this stuff anymore,
Yes.
or we don't?
We have a crime analyst who not only
Yeah.
helps with all of our detective duties, but
Right.
also takes on every single project of the entire police department.
Exactly.
We have crimes, we have incidents, well over 200 plus incidents every single day. So to ask one of our analysts to go in and now analyze and break down every single incident related to Flock or related to Raven would be a extremely long task that he does not have the capacity
So
to do.
through the chair, one more thing to add here. I got here in 2019 and there was a crime analyst at the time and he retired shortly after in 2020. City Police Department have not replaced that crime analyst. And I think that duty's been kind of given to a sworn officer who kind of takes on all the projects, ad hoc projects in the police department.
It's actually still a crime analyst
Okay.
that is housed within our investigations
Okay.
unit. However, like I said, he does.
But
an
after
extreme
Andrew
amount-
Bates, we did not replace a crime analyst. Andrew Bates, remember?
Yes,
Yeah, Andy Bates, we did not replace his position.
we do have a
Okay.
crime analyst now, yes.
Okay, we do have it now.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'm looking at the incident log that is online that gives you raw data, incident number, date, location, description, beat, and the disposition of what happened on that particular call. So that data is done on the daily basis and is available on the daily on Vallejo VPD website.
Thank you. I have a question from Board Member Stewart.
So following the discussion, I had a few of the same questions, but I won't belabor those points. But I do want to ask, the data that you use to place the Ravens, what sort of like date ranges, not necessarily the specific dates, but was it 1 year, 2 year, 3, 5 years of like crime data that allowed you that you chose to place the Ravens in particular areas of the city?
So I was not a part of the initial setup. It was Captain Ramsey who has since
Right.
retired. However, I know that it was based on gun violence. I don't know the date ranges specifically, and it was based on geographical location.
Okay. That's fine. So then with that data that you can't quite source out, is there a increased patrols in those particular areas where you place the Ravens, so that we're not just relying on the Ravens to be there, but that we know, we say, hey, this area, we know it's more than likely to have gun violence. Let's patrol a little bit more over here.
I would say, like, to specifically patrol a certain area, no.
Not specifically one area, but I'm saying we put the Ravens there for a reason.
Yes.
Is there an increased presence in that area more than it would be somewhere else where there is no Raven?
No.
Okay.
So Raven then replaces the patrolman that we don't have because our force is less, so Raven would provide that coverage or that surveillance that otherwise officers would do.
The officers would still patrol the city in its generality, but
Right.
Right.
what Raven would do is just give them an extra tool to say, this actually,
It's-
there's
Sure.
more definitive things that, oh, we
So-
can use that technology. We'll say that something actually did happen there at that time, but they're still gonna continue to patrol the entire city. the
So
location.
my point is it's not that they're there to replace them. It's that if we know that there's something happening, more than likely it's going to happen in one area, why wouldn't we be in that area? That's all I'm asking. And you don't have to.
It boils down to staffing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's fine.
That's how it boils
Yeah,
down to.
but also with our resources being thin, we have the data to say, hey, we may not, and sorry to my Glen Cove folks, necessarily need to hang out in Glen Cove as much as we do in my neighborhood, the Country Club Crest, right? Okay. And then just kind of back to the discussion about the efficacy, I would say one metric potentially, and I know we have one crime analyst, so I understand that, and I'd be okay with this with the caveat of as we increase staffing, we report back to the SAP more on this data. But I would say how long between getting a Raven hit to getting an actual shots fired call from a community member or even the particular victim would be a way to particularly track metrics, because that helps you increase response time, because the dispatch is getting it a lot sooner than they would have had there not been a Raven there.
So are you looking for the metric of the response time after a shots fired call is accompanied by a Raven or vice versa?
Right.
Okay, I could look that up.
And that's not something that, for me, that has to be done right away. I understand the capacity that has to be built up in the police department, but I think just kind of going with the discussion here, that's a way to have the data to back up the efficacy of the program. I think that's it, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. And Board Member Bronx.
I had a question about, I think you mentioned a May 3rd incident. That was one of the examples you gave. And this is a question, really, maybe you can just help me read the data.
Of course.
There's a column for shots fired versus a column for Raven shots fired alerts. And I was trying to match the two to look at a May 3rd incident among the shots fired. And I do see them there. There's a May 3rd shots fired at 8:43 and 8:44. I assume that's what you were referring to when you referenced the 1600 block of the fairgrounds. No.
23. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I realize it's a long sheet.
Yes.
So my question was, I see the two incidents on May 3rd, which I think you're speaking about, but I don't see a corresponding Raven shots fired alert on the same date at the same or around the same time.
Okay.
What's the significance of that? Because to me, I read that as there was no Raven alert. Is that correct?
And so the only thing I could think of with regards to not having the Raven alert put in, because all of this information is generated through our computer aided dispatch system. So in order for it to even be accessible, it has to be inputted properly by our dispatchers. Again, going back to staffing, there are times where so the way Raven alert works is that you have to set it up on your, whether it's on your console, on your cell phone, or whatever it is, to actually receive an alert. It's very similar to like how you receive a notification on your phone, right? And so dispatchers, especially during shooting calls, can be doing numerous things, whether it is calling for an ambulance, answering a phone, getting updates to officers, um, uh, fielding additional calls, things of that nature. So there is a possibility that they get an alert that's on their phone, on their computer from the Raven website, and they forgot to input it into the actual computer-aided dispatch system. There is a possibility for that. And so it would not get recorded to get pulled up and put on this report.
Part of it was also in the initial rollout, we talked about, the system has to be monitored. If it's not being monitored at that time, it's just data. For example, we talked about the sideshows. Exactly. The sideshows, it has the data, but it's not being monitored. The alerts are not on with it, so it's just data that's not there. So if a dispatcher is not there to enter it into the CAD system to it, I guess if that makes sense with it, or they're not paying attention to that, because what is their primary focus at that time is, hey, this call came in, we potentially have a shooting, multiple people are calling in. They're not going to pay attention to Raven because they're going to say, I've got a live person calling in who's going to give us the best information possible to be able to respond, say, hey, what they actually see. Because the Raven, you got to remember, is going to give you, yes, a shot was occurred over here, but the person's going to give me, it was X color car, it was a SUV, it was a truck. So dispatchers are going to focus on that to get the best information out for the officers to respond. So that could be a reason why some of these, and again, just like everybody had said here, as staffing increases and continues to rise, that would be a goal. Because right now what we do is we've trained the staff to be able to recognize it, see it, and use it as a tool, but not necessarily, again, just like anything else.
Okay, so
Excuse me,
if-
board member Contos.
So if that dispatcher missed that, it is in the system and that report does come out. So you have the dispatcher's report and you have the Raven report. And like the gentleman said, he doesn't see where it correlates, but then maybe we need to get both reports.
This is not everything.
Because if it wasn't input at the time that it happened, then you can't go back and put it in the dispatcher's report. But then we would get the Raven report because that prints out at some period of time, correct?
Yes,
At
and
the end of the day or however.
it just stays within the system, and it's held for 30 days.
Board member Brown.
And-
yeah, no, excellent point. So, and that's sort of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So you're confident that there was a Raven report on that date, but it's not appearing in the logs. So your conclusion is it must have been missed by the dispatcher.
Yes. And also because it's not integrated, right? So we have two different operating systems. We have Flock with their own, that puts out the alerts. So the dispatcher is actually going to have to receive that, look at it. Okay, we received we're receiving an alert, a shot's fired, multiple shots or single shot, whatever. And then they now have to go into our system and put it in. So if those two don't connect, it's not going to make it into our system.
I see. And it makes sense. And especially with the hecticness
Yes.
of receiving phone calls, I understand it. I would just note that if it's an example of the effectiveness of the system and you're able to locate the person faster, I would expect there to be a record of that.
Sure.
To indicate that you were able to locate the person faster, but we have no record of that.
Yes, I agree.
Board member Contos.
Have we considered an integrative system to put that together? Or is it too soon to think about that since we're still in the testing? Or is that something that once we get past the testing and it's approved, then you'll do whatever technology is required to integrate the systems?
That would be up to the operating systems to both talk
Yeah.
to each other and want to work with each other. That's like saying, I want to have my PlayStation talk to my Xbox and make one system. And so
I can jump on
Hey,
that.
probably.
Yeah, I can jump on that and give you a little more detail on that. So the city uses a RIMS CAD system, Sunridge, and it's a county-wide system that we adopted. So eventually Sunridge will adopt and maybe will take the Flock integration. So when that happens, then we can receive Flock integration directly into a CAD. Right now, we have no integration right now.
So then all we need is 2 reports.
Yeah, maybe it is on the Sunridge's roadmap. Yeah.
Any other questions from the committee?
I have a quick question. The daily incident log that's on the website, the VPD website, is that from people inputting it, or is that from people inputting it, like the dispatchers, and also from y'all? Like, how is this data that's on here comprised?
That's all the calls that we receive from the public
Okay.
and inputted by dispatch.
Okay, so just from dispatch.
Yes.
Okay. Because I was doing some quick math. Let's see, the last week got hits for Raven. So there were 8, 9, 10. There was 10 Raven hits from the 17th to the 23rd that are listed on there. 8 were unable to locate, 1 was unfounded, and 1 was general service provided. Unable to locate, pretty self-explanatory. Unfounded and general service provided. Can y'all give a little more details what that means?
It's under the disposition column. It's listed as unfounded. So do you know what that code means?
Are you talking about on
The daily log, incident log. So dispatcher is, the dispatcher is typing that in there
Okay.
as a
I
disposition.
think for us, we'd have to look into what the CAD notes, 'cause what happens if the officers will add additional notes to why they determined it was unfounded, or, so example, it could be, say for example, you have a fight that occurred, right? There's a fight that occurred, somebody hit somebody or whatever, and somebody shows up and go, hey, Board Member Randall, what happened? Nothing. We're just playing around, goofing off. Nothing happened. Well, that would be unfounded.
Yep.
Right. So, but they would have to add notes to it. So each time the officers clear a call, they would add notes into the call saying what it was: a disposition of an arrest, disposition of unfounded. Why was it unfounded? Those are things that we can look into on the back end to see. So it's kind of hard to say specifically with just one call for service what it is without diving into it.
Okay. Thank you.
This is more of a process question. I just want to just respond to something I heard, just to our secretary and to the captain and lieutenant. I remember specifically a few months ago, and I mean this respectfully, the city council asked that staff not direct commissioners and the boards and council to check the website. So I would just ask that if we're asking for information, well, we understand that it's accessible, that if possible, if you can, just please please try to attain that information rather than sending us fishing through the website. That's all I would just ask. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, my goal is to provide you as much information I can.
No, absolutely.
copy,
But you mentioned it's on the website, and while that may be true, it's also easier for us to, again, not fish through, because sometimes, obviously I know you're the director of IT, it's always not intuitive to search through some of the city websites also.
Yeah, I don't mean to, that you analyze the data right now, just a reference point for now. Thank you.
Any other questions before maybe moving to the next item? Yeah. Well,
So I do have a question, just so that staff knows what we need to do. Are you pushing this off then to make a decision until they can come back with additional information? Is that my understanding, or what do you want to do?
well, just being mindful of the 3 new board members we have. This might be really their first substantive opportunity to ask questions. So I wanted to, give ample time and opportunity to look at the material, to hear, Captain Batista and Lieutenant Ty's presentations, and wanted to. So that being said, I wanted to open it up for the committee to get a just get a sense of whether we have enough information, or whether more questions need to be asked, especially in terms of the statistics, the request for relevant statistics to evaluate efficacy that have been raised.
Well, I just kind of want to make a statement looking at page 7 of 65. And that gives a little background since 2022. That on December 2022, Vallejo City did not accept the board's recommendation and allowed the police department to continue with the beta test for Raven. That in the city resolution, it was passed. And then the next one, the department continued to use it. And then the final paragraph says the Vallejo Police Department has successfully completed Raven beta tests with Flock, and at this point are making a recommendation, the police department to the city council to procure Raven technology going forward. The Flock Raven contract will go to the city council within the next 2 months. The item is being presented to the Surveillance Advisory Board to inform you that the City of Vallejo Police Department intends to deploy the technology as a new tool in their effort to reduce crime in Vallejo and make Vallejo safe. So that's what's before us today. If we're sticking with the agenda, they're informing us of this, and that the city council did not, they passed that they could do this. So they're doing it, and it appears that the city council is already on board with it. So I need to understand, what would cause us not to vote to continue what they already said they're doing and what they did with the city of Vallejo? We're not at odds, because I just need to understand this based on what this says. It says it's to inform. If they're already going forth and the city council has already overruled whatever the decision was made in 2022, what are we doing then? What are we asking now to happen that it's already been successfully completed and they're going to move forward with it? So the reports that we've talked about getting, the statistics in the matrix, how would that affect them moving forward? I mean, it would like slow things, it would stop them from doing what they're doing that's already, looks from the way this reads, the city council is on board with what's already happened.
That could very well be, but it's a different city council from the city council that voted to continue.
New city councils don't reverse what previous councils did. I mean, that's not good business.
So
are we assuming that this new council is not in agreement what was already passed?
I'll just say this, Ms. Thompson. This information here, we moved forward with the free beta test. I believe that council moved forward because it was free. So they didn't see any issue with us not testing out the technology. What we're asked to do today is to figure out whether or not we believe that the city should move forward with this. And if we do, if we recommend in the affirmative, then the city will go forward with bringing it to city council with, I'm assuming, a purchase agreement, a contract, and to move forward actually purchasing the equipment. So while we do have it, there is nothing that binds the city and the contractor at the moment.
No, I didn't mean that it would bind it, but that it was already passed and worked. But in this moment, to this.
In this moment, it's not paid for. So if we don't move forward and agree, and the city does not approve a contract, then the Ravens they'll be removed from the city at this point. So right now we're kind of at like whether we're going to do it or not, but we have to make a decision and send it to the city council one way or another.
Thank you, Board Member Stewart. We had a question or comment. Board Member Ross?
I think Board Member Stewart answered it.
Okay. All right, so based on that, I mean, we can vote. I mean, we can vote on it, or we can choose to try to gather more information. But I definitely want to hear from all of the, well, I want to hear from all of the board members whether that would be good, particularly the new board members.
I'm happy to start. Two things. One, a quick question, which is, I think I saw a reference to an ad hoc committee.
Yeah.
Is that still exist and who's on it?
Well, the ad hoc committee actually that wasn't for FLOC. That was for. It was for.
Just for the policy.
It was for the
For
Raven
policy.
policy, right? So it was specifically for advising on a Raven technology use policy that the police department, hadn't had, but now they have based on the feedback. So we can recommend an ad hoc committee to discuss any aspect of Raven and or surveillance technology. So if that was the ultimate question.
So that may not have been the ultimate question, but the first question I think you answered, which is, it sounds like the committee has served its purpose, doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's right. The ad hoc committees have to, they have to have a specific purpose for that committee. Right?
Okay, my second point, which is more in general and with respect to a potential vote today, is what I would like to see is the assessment that the police department made in concluding that it is proposing to continue using the FLOC system. What was the assessment made so that we can evaluate that assessment? I think you've heard some ideas about different statistics, but you must have made some sort of evaluation yourselves to be able to come to us and say, we recommend this program. I would like to see what that is and what metrics you use to reach that conclusion. Because right now I'm not left with much other than some good examples and some what sound like logical reasons that it is beneficial. But I would like to see some more meat to an actual assessment of why you recommend that the city move forward with it.
Okay. Any other, thank you, Board Member Ross. Any other questions or comments?
I might have a comment that if the board decided, the commission decided not to continue to use, what would happen? We wouldn't use that, then where would we be?
Randy can jump in this.
Sure. So you're an advisory board. You can give whatever opinion you'd like to the city council. They would consider that, and then ultimately they would make the decision whether to acquire the technology or not, or to continue with the technology and enter into a contract for it.
So in essence, just like what happened in 2022, is that they could overrule.
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Okay, and Board Member Owen has a comment or question?
Yeah, I want to follow up on something Lieutenant Tai said. It sounds like the officers are able to listen to the audio of the gunshots. So is that something they can do at their own discretion? Like, how does that work?
So just like the dispatch, they can log into on their computers in their car. So they have to log into a separate system. So you could potentially have a mapping system up. You could potentially have the Sunridge RIM system up, which is the CAD where they would get the call service. You can add another layer where Raven could be up. So when it comes in, they would get an alert. Now they could take that alert, look at it, open up that screen, and there's a play button. So an audio play button. They can listen to it that way. So it's, again, if they're logged into the system and running it as well.
And is that action of listening to the audio logged? Like you don't think so? Okay. I'm asking because I'm wondering if those microphones ever pick up anything other than gunshots. Like, there are basically microphones around the city. I'm wondering what else they're picking up.
Previous presentations by the police department have revealed that they'll pick up like cars backing, and that's part of the
Backfire.
Yeah, backfire, right?
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, and then also fireworks, and then also I heard at one point windows being broken.
I am unaware of it actually like capturing, conversations.
That's what I'm getting at. Okay. So it's more selective than that.
Yes, it does not have that capability. It's pick up specifically single gunshots, multiple gunshots, sideshows, and fireworks.
Okay.
So it's decibel oriented.
All right, thank you.
So, I just wanted to ask whether the board would be willing to hold off on voting until, per Board Member Bross's recommendation, we receive a evaluation by the police department that concludes why they believe that the flock Raven should be, sorry, flock should be implemented and including relevant metrics.
So,
I would like to stress, Chair Lee, that we are not having a meeting for the month of August, and the beta testing is up on September 6th, which is the free period. And we would need some time should the city decide to go with the contract to get that up and running. Randy could explain the entire process. So I was trying to get some sort of cushion prior to the actual end of the beta testing.
I'm gonna jump in terms of my question here. If we move this forward, we won't receive the results, which I believe is item, what's that? In item 10A, we won't receive the gunshot detection data anymore, will we? Moving forward,
No, you will continue receiving that.
we'll continue to receive that?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
That's going to be part of your regular agenda.
okay, thank you.
So to the chair, your question about whether we should delay, I think it's very interesting to see, would this leave us without a functioning system while we were off, like, is it not enough time to sign the contract and get it through? And therefore that system would be turned off for a period of time. So that's my concern about delaying this decision.
Yeah, that's it. Right. Any other thoughts on that? And do we have any motions to vote?
I make a motion that the board consider the review of the flock gunshot detection technology and that they continue the use of the technology at this point.
Second that.
Okay.
I can go ahead
Secretary?
and call the voice call, yeah. Board Member Owen,
Yes.
Board Member Cohen Thompson,
Yes.
Board Member Stewart,
Yes.
Chair Lee,
No.
and Vice Chair Moreno,
No.
and Board Member Ross.
No.
That's a tie vote.
A tie is tie fails.
Fails.
Yeah.
So to the chair, then if someone would make a substitute motion with the conditions so that we can move this forward, because we have a window here and we're really talking about stopping progress that will affect the city and the police department. So would somebody do a substitute motion that would add a condition that we can move forward on this, and we don't get into a deadlock?
If I could,
Because no doubt when we get reports, those reports are gonna want other reports because it's got a lot of explanation, and they only have 1 year of testing with Raven and Flock. So, and then we understand that the Flock and the dispatch report are two different reports. So given that it's a tie, like, okay, you can say no, but would somebody come up with a substitute motion so that we can move this forward?
if I may, so if we do not move anything forward, will there be a presentation to city council And will they have the opportunity to vote without our advice?
No, so when do you plan to take the contract to the city council, the flock? Have that contract been reviewed by CAO?
No, not yet. We don't,
Okay.
I mean,
Do you
we
know what,
have,
do you know what the timeline is? Is it September, October?
well, the beta testing is over on
Correct.
September 6th.
But we
so,
could continue with a little, grace period there. Maybe they can give us a grace period.
Sure, I could certainly ask them.
So if that's the case, if you're planning to take the contract to the city council in September, October, then that gives us time for the board members to come back and you can present the hard data to them one more time.
Yes, I could definitely ask them.
Okay.
I guess my larger point was if you're not going to go to the city council before September, they also have to review the ask.
Right.
So I guess I'm confused. Did we wait so long that the city council is stuck in a position where they either have to approve it right away or cancel it immediately?
Or have a special board meeting.
Any response to board members' question?
Yeah, I could certainly ask Raven for an extension if that's the case.
I know that the funding was approved by Measure P, I believe, right?
No,
No? Okay. Or is
No,
it for a
it-
different grant?
yes, it is actually from
The COPS grant?
it was for our evidence project.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
And sorry, just to clarify, if city council takes this up in September, do they need some affirmative motion from us? They'll request one. Do they need one in order to move forward or not?
They could move forward without you because you're an advisory body. Although they don't want to do that. All right. They prefer to have the recommendation, whether it's up or down, and then they can take that recommendation into consideration in making their decision. Now, they might not decide the same way that you do, as is evidenced by what happened last time. But they want the recommendation so that they can take that into account.
So with that said, I guess my conclusion would be city council is going to take this up one way or another. The police department's going to bring it to them in September and they could move without us. They're also going to want to see how you reach the conclusion that this is beneficial and should be extended. So
We don't know that.
we don't know that. That's true. I don't know that. That's my assumption, but I think it's an assumption with some support behind it, which is there has to be some sort of metric or analysis by the police department to say, I want to spend more money on this tool.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree that the city council would want exactly what we're requesting here in terms of evaluation and a conclusion on why to move forward for paying for the tool here.
To the chair, I disagree with that. Just because you agree that's an assumption. We can't deal on assumptions of what city council will do because we want it. They've already indicated that some of the things that the previous board denied, they moved forward. So it would be presumptuous to presume that they would want these reports that we want. That's sort of up in the air. Do we operate like that? I mean, it's 3-3, all right? So it's a tie. Nobody obviously. All right, okay, well,
Go ahead.
we need something, a substitute motion.
Whoever, Stewart.
So I want to move that we move forward with the flock technology, but on the condition that this board can get those reports next month and the potentially a special meeting if the board is willing to do so. That way we don't hold this up and then captain can move forward. And then if at that time we decide that those reports don't sufficiently satisfy us, then we can move forward at that point and say we are not okay with that.
I second
Second.
the motion and wanted to ask the board secretary a question, kind of related question. Will the city council be advised of our vote today?
No,
will-
not today. No,
No, they won't.
no.
Because it's not a
Correct.
up or down.
Correct.
It's a tie.
Yeah. We're only going to advise the city council with a resolution when we take the contract to them.
Super. So second that motion, we,
So, yeah, okay, so the motion is
Sorry,
that,
before you call the roll, do we need a date certain on that special meeting?
no, not yet, because Manny is going on a vacation and August usually is
Well, I'm asking, do we need one for the motion?
Absolutely, because without a day.
we can stick to the third.
That's fine. I'm just, as long as
Thursday.
it's clear what date it is. That's what I'm asking. If we need to specify that for the motion.
we'll specify that, just the.
I think the question is whether we need to specify it.
That,
for
that's the
vote.
question. Yeah, it's either yes or no at this point.
Oh, I don't
We
think
don't
we need
need
to,
to?
settle- yeah, because
Okay.
it's a special meeting. We can hold it anytime in August.
All right.
Yeah. On the availability of the members. Yeah. Okay, I'll go ahead and call the voice roll on the second motion. And Board Member Owen.
Actually, could you state the motion, please?
Okay, so the motion
Sure.
is that we are going to hold a special meeting in August to discuss the efficacy or the hard data by the police department. And based on that data, the board will vote up and down.
No, that
No,
wasn't the
right.
motion.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
The motion is that we move forward
Oh,
with
okay.
using the technology on the condition that we hold a meeting in August to receive those reports. And then at that point, if the board will like to deny it completely, then we do that. But I think holding it up, well, that's not part of the motion, but that's the motion.
Isn't
on the
that the
floor.
same thing?
No.
Okay, no, okay, sorry,
No.
okay, all right, okay. all right.
Just letting them move forward with Flock so you can get the contract negotiated and do all of those things and have it teed up.
Okay,
And then the board gets a chance to look at your data at a special meeting in August. And then they can give a thumbs up or thumbs down then if they choose to do that.
Right.
So. Right, so I don't wanna handcuff my, hands here in terms of voting, because I think it's gonna be contingent upon, the exactly what the police department presents, right? So I don't wanna tie my vote in the future on a condition of a report, because I don't know about the, quality of the report.
I hear you, Chair Lee, but you've seconded the motion and now it's on the floor.
But, well, that's, I mean, I didn't understand that.
To the chair,
It wasn't clear.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
to the chair, with that second amended motion, that they move forward with the condition that we have those reports for an August meeting.
Right.
And at that meeting, if it does not pass the board, then that result would go to city council.
Correct.
Correct. The earliest that they could get this to city council would be August 5th. And I doubt they can do that because that agenda is already full and they don't have time to get it together or to get information from Flock. So the absolute earliest we could realistically do it is September 9th. That's the first meeting in September. So the goal would be to have a meeting for the Surveillance Advisory Board, a special meeting in August, so that you can consider whether you want to make a recommendation to not approve it or to approve it, either way. In the meantime, Captain Bautista can move forward with whatever he needs to do with Flock to start getting documents together and those kinds of things.
And also requesting an extension. a brief extension.
Yes. That's how I see the motion that was made.
Then what are we extending?
Well, in the event that you need more time, he's going to ask if Flock's willing to extend the beta test through September.
A free beta testing.
Right.
So we're not paying for it
Right.
currently, so we're just asking to continue not paying for it until we actually finalize the contract.
All right, then somebody needs to restate, that's an amendment to amendment,
Okay.
right? Just without-
You got it?
Board
you
secretary.
can go ahead and restate that,
Okay.
please. Yeah.
All right.
I think I'll have to look at the video for sure.
No, well, let's have the city attorney or the board secretary.
Sure. So what we're going to do is, or what the board is going to do is move forward, which allows Captain Bautista to do what he needs to do with Flock, getting documents together, getting it teed up, ultimately for approval sometime in September, hopefully. In the meantime, we're going to find out what day the board is available for a special meeting in August. Captain Bautista and Lieutenant Ty are going to come back to you with additional data that hopefully gives you a comfort level in order to either recommend the technology moving forward or recommend against it.
I would classify it as reaffirm, but yeah.
Right, that's fine too. Same, it's the same thing.
Sure. Just want to make sure we're clear.
Okay.
With the motion.
Okay, I can go ahead and do the roll call now. Board Member Owen,
No.
Board Member Cohen Thompson,
I'll say yes, because city council can move past what we do anyway, because the work needs to be done. And we have to recognize that, there's a process and there's windows that, dates and things that need to be done. And though we have the, position and the charge to say yes or no, nevertheless, work needs to be done. So I'll say yes on that so that we can continue it. Otherwise, if I say no and we get a no, then that means nothing is gonna happen. We don't even need an August meeting. So I'll say yes to the third motion. Is that the third motion?
That's the second motion.
That's the second motion.
It's the
That
one I
had
just
a-
restated.
Right.
Yeah.
Had a condition to it, correct?
Yeah.
Right, okay. I'll say yes to the second motion with the condition.
okay, thank you. Board Member Stewart
Yes.
and Chair Lee,
Yes.
Vice Chair Moreno,
No.
and Board Member Ross.
Yes.
Okay, so this passes. Thank you.
Moving to the next item, board to consider and review the use of security towers to assist the Vallejo Police Department in deterring crime and make a recommendation to the city council to use the technology or to not use the technology.
Again, I'm going to ask Captain Batista to present this item, and there's some information in the staff report that I presented for you.
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and just read the background and discussion behind this purchase, okay? So on July 1st, Vallejo City Council convened a special meeting to discuss and brainstorm possible solutions to deter crime in the summer months. Vallejo Police Department Chief and Deputy Chief Knight gave a thorough presentation to the City Council and presented various technology and staffing options to the City Council. One of the options was to install 4 to 6 mobile security towers in various crime hotspots in the city. Vallejo City Council unanimously directed the staff to expedite the purchase of towers and committed to a budget allocation for the purchase. This is a new technology and needs to be reviewed by the Surveillance Advisory Board. The board is asked to review various privacy issues surrounding the technology. The police department is recommending a vendor that can deliver the mobile security tower in a timely manner. The vendor is LiveView Technology, Inc., LVT. For the board consideration and discussion, the following documents were provided to the police department and the vendor, which was the LVT Technology Overview, LVT Pilot Program, SFPD's Policy for Reference, LVT's California Sole Source Justification, as well as their Master Service Agreement. So I was asked to do some research with regards to getting the mobile surveillance trailers. It was pretty quickly put together due to the emergency plan with regards to preparing for gun violence in the summer. I just wanted to point out some of the things that has happened since June of this year and including July of this year, specifically regarding the area of the Crest. So on June 11th, we had an attempted murder that happened in the 1800 block of Gateway, a shooting. On 3 days later, on the 14th, we had another shooting that happened in the 1600 block of Fairgrounds. On the 20th, 7 days later, excuse me, 6 days later, we had a homicide in the 2000 block of Griffin. And on the 13th, we had several people get shot. The 13th of July in the 400 block of Mark Street, which is what triggered this discussion with regards to gun violence and specific area of the Country Club Coast. And so in choosing the mobile surveillance towers, I simply asked one of my sergeants to drive around the entire city and see what is currently being used by, members of the city, members of the community. And he was able to note at least 12 LVT towers were being used, and there was only one camera, it's called by the company name of Solar AI, being used. So 1 versus 12, that made the answer simple. So we were able to narrow it down to just using LVT. So that was the company I chose to move forward with and look into more. I actually have the sales rep, Eric Smith, on Zoom available to provide a presentation for you folks and answer any questions. I don't know how to cue that up.
Yeah.
He is rejoining as a panelist. Eric Smith, go ahead.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, but need to be a little bit louder, please.
Okay. Is that any better?
Yes, a little better. Thank you.
And I have one of our engineers on as well. Is there any way we can add him? Is he in the waiting room? Do you see a Rob Martin on your end?
Yes, he just got promoted. He's coming in as we speak.
Thank you.
Yes, and Manny, can you increase the volume on the Zoom, please? We can barely hear him.
Unfortunately, that's on the mixer board. So it would be the main volume.
I can do that. Yeah, got it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hold on 1 second. He's turning up the volume. He had to walk across the room. Okay, try it now.
Is this any better?
Yes.
Better.
Better.
Can you hear us?
Awesome.
Yep.
Yes, we can hear you.
I have a question. Yeah, I'm going to steal your microphone.
Go ahead.
There's a lot of reverb. Hi, so this is Russell Owen. I looked over the material you provided, and I would really like to see a security white paper. I'm particularly interested in how you're securing the data on the unit, how you're securing the data in transit to your cloud storage, and how you're securing data in the cloud storage. You talked about zero knowledge cryptography. I'd like to get a lot more details on what you mean by that, how you're doing key management. You must have a security white paper. So can you make that available?
Yes. Rob, if you want to start that off, I'll try to find a slide for that really quick. Let me see.
Yeah, we're waiting for Eric, we're ready for your presentation.
Regarding the security question?
No, you have a presentation prepared for the security towers or?
Yep, I can present on the security towers. Did you want me to answer the security question first or?
You can do the presentation first.
Okay. Okay.
Behind us.
Sharing is not turned on my end, guys. It says sharing is not turned on. You can request to share, which the request is in.
Manny,
And we are good to go. Okay. Okay. You guys are seeing this?
Yes, we can see.
Okay. Thank you. And I'm struggling to hear you guys, but please just flag me down if I'm missing anything or if you want to stop on any sort of topic. And you guys too, so I can see you. Okay. Okay. So this is Live Views Technologies. We do mobile security units for government agencies, major big box retailers, gas stations, grocery stores, hotels, many cities across the Bay Area. And what we ultimately are doing is we are a force multiplier for deterring crime, solving crime, 24/7 recording, and how that is sort of pushed to you guys is through the eyes of the unit here. You can see 3 camera configurations. We have flashing blue lights up top, floodlight speakers, talk down features, and all of this is looped into our video management system, which has an alerting aspect to it, which you guys will be using a third-party alerting system to survey the alerts that are coming through you guys and monitor the footage on your hotspot sites around town. I'll come back to this in a second. Quick history on LVT. We've been around for about 20 years now. We've got 15,000 units across the country deployed right now, and a little over 2,000 units just in California. Like Captain said, we have slightly over 12 just in your city alone, with big box retailers, gas stations, and grocery stores. You'll see us up and down I-80 as you're driving through town. Let me move on here. What makes LVT special and different from the other, you mentioned other vendors in your city? We are #1 in reliability. We have a 96% uptime. So what that means is our cameras are recording, our features and functionalities are working 96% of the time. Our data is secure. We have an end-to-end secure data platform that basically starts from the unit itself. It has a patent on the SIM card itself, and then goes up into our AWS cloud service, and then down into our URL-based video management system. We do about 60 units a day out of our LVT headquarters out in Utah. In our connectivity, we have a patent with 3 different vendors: T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T. And then lastly, our AI features and functionality will help automate a lot of the alerting systems by detecting loitering, criminal activity, any sort of after hours intruders in these sort of hotspot locations. How this works on our end, guys, and you can picture us in the parking lot here of a hotspot region of Vallejo. We have the LVT unit out in the parking lot. This is up top here, basically a supercomputer with a NVIDIA chip that sits up here. That NVIDIA chip's the eyes that can sort of alert and deter, or alert on loitering, vandalism, any sort of criminal activity. What happens after it's been alerted on is the system will come alive, and I'll hop down here. We can have loudspeakers talking down to people in, after hours in the parking lot. We can have the floodlight turn on to deter any sort of criminal activity, such as, gun violence or anybody in the parking lots. And then the flashing blue lights can be turned on automatically 24/7, or they can basically be turned on by the alert itself. And up here, you can see this is actually how the alert will come through. It can pick up on vehicles or humans entering into areas that you don't want them to. And that will basically start the escalation process from the loudspeaker to the floodlight to the strobe lights. That is the quick rundown of LVT, guys. Any questions on that front?
Just wanted to get a sense of how LVT defines or describes what constitutes customer data.
Mhm. Rob, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be all your customer data would be anything that was recorded and saved on our solid state drive. If it's not pulled into the cloud, so it's not requested, that data rewrites itself and then it's gone. It will not stay on the unit. It's written over unless, somebody that you give access to has pulled that data and stuck it onto a flash drive or to a computer hard drive. That would be all the data that the unit collects, right? All the video would be customer data.
Okay, thank you. Follow up to that. Would any customer data be used for controlling or training data for your AI?
No, we would have to ask specifically for release to do that. It would not just be done.
Thank you. And any use of aggregated data, unidentifiable, non-identified data to use as controlling training data for your AI?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
So any sort of data that's been de-identified and, defined as aggregated data. So for instance, let's say any kind of aggregated data that's collected by these systems in the city of Vallejo,
Uh-huh.
would that potentially be used as training controlling data for AI?
No, not without a release from you guys.
Thank you. Any other questions from the committee?
I mean, is that the presentation or are you pausing for questions?
That's the majority of what LVT does and who we are.
Okay, then I have a question. So if you're selling to governments, you must have a bunch of documents for compliance. So how have you you must have passed ISO privacy. You must have passed
Mhm.
ISO security. Maybe your FedRAMP.
Mhm.
All of your compliance documents so that we can evaluate the security of the system.
Yes, we can have an MNDA signed between us and the city of Vallejo, and we can share our SOC 2 Type 2 document with you guys.
Sounds good. What certifications do you have?
Rob, do you have more on that front?
There's a few. I'm just pulling up if you want to continue the next question, I'll grab this data.
Yeah, on the cloud front, SOC 2 Type 2 certified. I know our cloud is stored using Amazon Web Services.
Are you in GovCloud?
I can confirm with that. Is that a city requirement?
No, I'm just curious the level of your security.
Okay.
We are not, but we are working on that procedure right now with the United States Air Force.
Okay, so you're not FedRAMP. Okay. Yeah, anyways, you don't have to answer these questions now. If you can provide this information to the Captain Batista, who's or whoever's managing this relationship with the police department, then I would be nice to review them. So yeah, that's it. I just want to look at those documents.
You bet.
Question here. Has there ever been any incident of unauthorized data usage, or has the system ever been hacked, anything like that?
No, it has not.
Thank you. And sort of unrelated question. How do you define behavioral threats when you're talking about your AI system and how it defines a behavioral threat such as loitering? Do
So
you have
what-
a definition for that?
Yeah, so you can see this video that's on your screen, that red line that kind of goes across the top. You're looking at a part of the screen. So we would get in and dial in detection zones where we call out areas where people should not be or should not be for a certain amount of time. So it's really based on the camera conditions that we tell it, right? So a lot of times we call out catalytic converter theft by cars that are illegally parked in drive lanes because we've learned the behavior of how these folks do this, right? So we call out illegal parking. If the car's there for more than, a minute, then it warrants a check, right? So then you can send an officer. We call it out by detection zones and the amount of time that your police department would tell us, what there should be nobody in this area. It should be sterile from 10 p.m. to 11 or from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Anybody that's in there, we want to know about it. So then we would send an alert to them.
And would that, the response would be first, there would be the system turns on its audio, the strobe light goes off, gives a warning, and then
That's correct.
provides an alert to the police department, or is there a different?
The
That's
alert, I was going to say the
Go ahead.
alert goes out first, and all of the sort of escalation following that is all customizable. So if you don't want the loudspeaker to come on, or the floodlight to come on, or the strobe light to come on, that is all customizable to the end user.
Thank you.
Where are you currently deployed in California by municipalities?
I think I'm hesitant to say the customers that we are working with. I do not know if they have provided us with public marketing. I know this is public, but I'm happy to share that with Captain Batista, and he can share that with you when we're not being recorded. If that's
Captain Batista, so why didn't we decide to do research and just have someone drive around the city to see what's going on around the city, or to see what other towers are around the city?
Thank you. So this task was, let me turn that one off. Oh. Okay. So this task was asked of me. I was kind of quickly asked to put this together. And so I figured quickest and most expeditious way to kind of determine the company that we should go with is by having one of my sergeants go around and figuring out which is currently being used. So
we didn't explore other departments nearby, or like the sheriff department, or
no,
Napa County, nothing like that?
no.
Okay.
I can add a little information that can shed some light on that.
Sure.
So this is city council driven.
Right.
So
was there.
city council felt that this was urgent
Absolutely.
and wanted this equipment deployed as quickly as possible.
But to your point, though, I think, with all due respect to the vendor here, I think they wouldn't appreciate the particular presentation either. Just from my observation, I think more data is going to speak the theme of the night. It's going to be asked for from the council as well, which is an assumption, but it's a safe assumption. But I would particularly personally like, even if they all didn't come to us to decide which vendor you're going to choose, more than just someone driving around our town for a few hours.
I think Sorry for interrupting. I think the captain did have a conversation with one of your neighbors. I just don't know if we're allowed to publicly mention their name.
I mean, that's
Um,
fine, but he could have said yes.
I mean, we have a paperwork here showing the San Francisco
Well, that's,
apartment here.
that's their privacy policy, but they didn't explore that. They didn't explore other vendors.
No, vendors wise.
Right, that's my question. Okay.
okay.
Wanted to ask about, like, do you currently have a full inventory of all of your processors and sub-processors that you'll be using to deploy this technology?
Yes, we do.
Sorry, can you speak louder? I didn't hear.
Sorry. Yes, everything is housed in Spanish Fork, Utah. We have inventory for all of our gear.
So that would include any vendors and then sub-vendors that are processing this data, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you're telling me all of the vendors are in Utah? All of the processors and sub-processors of any kind of data that was going to be used or collected and used by your systems is located in Utah, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood the question. So all of the hardware is put together and assembled in Utah.
Okay, so just to remind everyone what a processor is. A processor is a vendor that does something with the data, whether it's storage or whether it's manipulation, whether it's some sort of development of that data. And so that's what I'm asking, whether you have a current inventory of what all your processors and sub-processors are, and also with that, where they're located.
Would this be where our AWS cloud?
Well, that would be, yeah, that would be definitely one of your processors.
Yeah, okay. We
cloud.
can put together a list of that for you.
Super.
Let me see if I have it for you now, actually, on the AWS front.
Okay, great. And then also with that, not only the company that you're contracting out for processing, sub-processing, but also the physical location, if it's going to a server or stored
It-
anywhere.
Nope, it just lives on a solid state drive on the unit. So it goes from the unit to the cloud.
Got it. Okay, thank you. So and that would be all of your process, I mean, so that's all of your processing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
It's a question for Captain Bautista. When you refer to crime hotspots, do we have particular locations in mind? And sort of going along with that question, are these devices planned to be moved around? And if you have spots in mind or these crime hotspots, are they in neighborhoods, intersections, parking lots? What is the practical use and placement?
So as the city attorney advised, this was under direction of the city council. And so the ones that we have already agreed to lease the location was determined by the city council. As for future locations of where, like how many we're going to purchase and where they're going to go, things of that nature, that all still has to be worked out. But this was like an emergency deployment. So I would have to get further direction from city council. I'm sure that we would influence some of their decision on where to go based on data, on crime data. So I don't know what their plan is, so I shouldn't even speak on them.
I'll just add at that council meeting, that special council meeting, Chief Knight brought together like the hot spots and called out like these are the locations. And each council member was like, "Oh, I need them in my place. I need them in my place." So they were discussing like, okay, who actually needs them, and a lot of them were in District 5, which yeah, that's where a lot of the hotspot shootings were.
So the reason I ask is it's a primary privacy concern, whether one of these hotspots is in a neighborhood. If we have a camera overlooking my fence directly into my bedroom window, it's a much bigger issue than if it's in a parking lot. So I imagine that's going to be an issue going forward with the how to place these things.
Regarding assignment of location and determining the actual physical locations, or is the city considering deployment only in city properties, or are we talking about at any private properties with the consent and agreement of a, company or a landlord?
I can't speak on their behalf.
Okay.
I don't know what their plans are.
Okay. Okay.
Just so I understand, and your responses to the last couple of questions make it sound like the city council is going to direct you to put them in certain locations. Is that right?
So this was specifically directed for North Vallejo, in the area of Kings Market. So, but as for future purchases, I don't know how many there are. I don't know where they're going to be placed. I do not have any of that information.
Is it a decision that's made between the police department and the city, or is it city council just telling the police department we want them here?
I would assume that the police department would have input on their decision.
I don't quite remember that being the case, and that's not reflected in the staff report either, that it's going to be solely in North Vallejo.
No. I'm talking about, so what happened is based on the shootings that I read off earlier.
Right.
That location was determined to be one of the more exigent locations to place the first two that we agreed to lease. And I'm assuming the plan is to purchase more. However, the way they will be distributed is unknown to me, because the only task I was asked to do is to get these and put them in the specific location. That is it.
Okay. I have one more question, if I may. Can we, if this were to move forward, get monthly usage logs, reports like we do with the other uses of technology, please? If it's someone logging into the system, cases where the system was triggered by any particular reason, is that possible to get that information? And that may be a question for LBT.
Yes, that is a question for LBT.
Yes, it is possible. We have logs to support anybody logging in or any activation of the system, as long as it's within 30 days. After 30 days, that unless it's pulled, that data is overwritten. The login logs are there forever. Who logs into the system, but if the unit was triggered, if we can get, we can have that login within 30 days of an incident.
Okay. Another thing is, does your system allow sharing? So if I have a system, am I allowed to, with permission, to share with another individual who has a similar system, the same system?
Go ahead, Eric.
I'll say it's a one-way street from your private retail-owned LBT units in town for them to share to the police department. It cannot go the other way.
No, right. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
And it has to be a signed memorandum of understanding from their end, the retailer's end, in order for them to give access to the police department. We need to see that that signed document from the retailer-owned LBT unit.
And just if you could clarify, the default data retention for any audio or video is 30 days, is that correct?
So we don't have any audio retention. We don't record audio. But yes, video retention default is 30 days.
Is the video consistently recording 24 hours?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Thanks. on top of that, are these monitored by employees that work for LVT? Or are the police gonna monitor, like, is there any monitoring, 24/7 monitoring on top of that, this technology?
The police has signed up for an additional monitoring system through a third party to help monitor the alerts that are coming into the system.
So with regards to that third party, are there non-US residents who would be looking at that data as part of providing that service?
No.
All right.
Just a question for Captain Batista. What can you describe any relevant timelines that that have been discussed by City Council to implement and deploy?
They asked for immediate,
Immediate.
yes. We currently have 2 towers scheduled to be delivered tomorrow morning.
Sorry, last question. Has LVT had any data breaches or have any towers been hacked previously?
No.
Thank you.
So there's a use policy from San Francisco included in this package here. Does the Vallejo Police Department have a use policy?
No. Not yet.
I think that would be a perfect opportunity for a ad hoc committee to recommend a usage policy for the city.
Does LVT share the data with any federal agencies such as ICE or FBI?
No, we do not.
And then going back to the sharing aspect, so for example, San Francisco may have LVT and we're getting LVT. Are we able to share data between, as we are the law enforcement agencies and not a private institution, private entity trying to share to the police?
Rob, correct me if I'm wrong. I have never seen that happen before, but I'm sure it's possible if both sides have agreed to it and legally signed off on it.
I believe that is correct. It is possible, but I have never seen it done.
Got it. So it doesn't seem like it's possible within your software. It's more the taken outside of the software is that what I'm understanding?
No, it is possible, but I've just never seen it done, right? We have other adjoining cities and counties that, I don't know. I've never seen cities share info like that with each other.
Yeah, I'll second that. It's just never been a request that we've received. It's probably possible though. Definitely possible.
Got it. So if cities want to do that, they have to put a request in through y'all to be able to do that.
Yes, they would have to sign. It's the same thing as a retailer owned LBT, sign that memorandum of understanding and both parties sign off on it. And then they submit that to us. And once our team approves it, we can sync them up.
Got it. Thank you.
I will say I did find an answer to the AWS locations if that is still of interest.
Yes, if you can share with Captain Batista, just again, a full inventory of your processors and their sub-processors and physical location. Thank you.
The information, and I'm no expert on this by any means, but is primarily stored in AWS US West 2 Oregon. Secondary option is AWS US East 1 North Virginia, and then lastly, cold storage is AWS US East 2 in Ohio.
I have one more question. I know that there's, you have this slide up here with the thermal, the lights, and the loudspeaker. Is there facial recognition technology that you have implemented inside of your of these surveillance towers?
No.
No, sir.
Thank you.
Another question. Do you hire third parties to do penetration testing of the physical hardware and your cloud infrastructure?
Yes, we have.
How did that go?
They were not able to hack or get into our units.
All right, thank you.
Just wondering if there's any ability on your systems to assist with or collect any license plate data? Or,
No.
okay.
Can you give me a quick rundown of what these third parties are evaluating when they're seeing they got a hit and they're looking at the video? Like, what are they assessing and what are they seeing?
So that is a customizable post order for that company. It'll be dictated by the police. They would get an alert, right? So the camera, somebody's in the detection zone, it throws an alert, and then the company then has post orders of, okay, if you get this alert, um, call the police, call the dispatch. They'll diagnose that based on the behavior we give them, right? Does that help?
That does help. Are they seeing the exact thing that like this thermal imaging video,
Yes.
it'll clip it?
Yep.
And it switch it from thermal to not thermal? Like what are the abilities that the people watching have?
So the same as a live view. It depends on the camera model that we would be deploying. So we use NDAA cameras with our city governments, right? So the thermal camera this particular thermal camera would stay thermal, and then we would usually put thermals on the left and right, and then have a optical PTZ in the middle so that we could slew to queue. We get a detection on the thermal, and then the optical camera would be used to go and diagnose what's happening.
What is the magnification aspect of the zoom?
32 times zoom.
So it seems like it's fair to say that while you might not be really like you're getting a video and you're not necessarily getting license plate data, you could get license plate data from this 32x zoom.
It is possible to see a license plate, depending on where we have the camera trained, right? So it's as a 32x zoom, we have a 10-degree field of view. So it would be we would have to be intentionally looking for, something, right? A lot of times we use that on the entrances and exits of buildings, back doors. Sometimes we use it on, choke points into parking lots. But the field of view gets very tight when you do a 32x zoom, right? So it's 10 degrees.
Got it. Thank you.
Just curious whether you have any printed, public, publicly viewable notice of what's being collected when, on any of your devices.
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm sure we could collect that.
Captain Batista, this department notice from SFPD, are we looking to mimic this as we move forward with this technology?
I just asked them to provide any policy that they had that was close to like within the Bay Area. So we could at least reference something. So it's obviously something that we could use as a guideline. However, we would absolutely welcome your input in developing a policy for it.
I think this is a good framework to start with. But I don't want to move forward with this technology if we're not going to have this in place. So I'll just say that. And so if and when there's a motion on this item, I would just ask that we include creating this framework with it so that we can ensure that there are at least rules around the usage before we move forward with anything else.
I agree, but I like more specialized study, so I wanted to put a motion for an ad hoc committee that includes board member Stewart and any other two other volunteers to review maybe similar situated cities that have usage policies and or including San Francisco, and to decide on a Vallejo usage policy.
I would volunteer.
Anyone else?
I volunteer.
Okay. So how many max can we have in our three, right?
It has to be less than a quorum, so 3.
So you can choose. All right. So how about board member Bras? Okay, motion for board member Bras, board member Stewart, board member Cohen Thompson to be in the ad hoc committee to advise the SAB on a usage policy for Vallejo.
Are we tying that to the actual item in front of us?
The actual item.
It's to recommend.
It's to recommend. I think, well, I mean, having the findings from an ad hoc committee should go for actual vote for the resolution.
We can create an ad hoc committee, but we're going to have to do that at another meeting when we can put that on the agenda for you to consider. Because I need you to adopt the resolution and be specific about it when it's going to end and those kinds of things.
Okay. Sure.
Well then, I'll move this item with the caveat that we work within that PD works within the San Francisco mobile security units policy as listed in the packet here. That acceptable to the attorney?
I want to make sure I understand. You want them to use that policy for the time being?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yes, I understand that. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Second,
Who's seconding it? Sorry.
Simon.
Okay, got it. Okay, so I can go ahead and call for the vote.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
To try to keep doing this, could you just clearly state what we were voting on?
The motion is that we're going to go ahead and continue with the procurement and usage of this technology with the San Francisco use policy in use. Use that policy to, while using this technology.
Right.
And is that pending our own policy, I assume?
Yes.
Correct. Until we develop our own policy later, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because if not, there is no policy.
Okay, but we're not voting to establish the ad hoc committee.
No.
You know, we're just saying that we think we should continue to have this discussion.
Since we're having a special meeting in August anyway, I'll bring that back
Okay.
on that agenda so you can create your ad hoc committee at that time.
Okay, with that motion on the floor, we'll go ahead and call the roll call. Board Member Owen, okay. Board Member Cohen Thompson,
Yes.
Board Member Stewart,
Yes.
and Chair Lee,
Yes.
Vice Chair Moreno,
Yes.
and Board Member Bras.
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes.
Any questions for LVR? Any additional? Oh, yeah, okay. All right. So. Okay, so what?
The item is the information technology reports. Do you have any questions or you want Lieutenant Tai to go through the reports?
Okay. So we're gonna vote on the recommendation.
No, we have to make
Okay.
Yes, we're on information item. It's just an information item
So,
only.
technology usage reports, drones, cell site simulator, Raven gunshot detection.
Do you have any specific questions for Lieutenant Tai?
I have one question, or a couple questions, I should say. Looking at the ALPR data, with the cases assisted, could we put in the future add a what am I asking here? Oh, sorry. Add a line graph so that we can track the actual data, not just having the numbers here. So we can say, okay, in this many in January we had this many, in February we had this many, and where we're able to see that the numbers are increasing or decreasing or what have you.
I can ask the crime analyst if that's something that we can do. I'm not sure, just because right now the way it's listed is just the total usage year.
Right.
Calculated.
And I'm not asking, I mean, you don't have to go back and do that, but I think moving forward, even if we start with July, it's like, okay, or I guess August at this point. and
How
think-
many cases that month? were
Yes,
used?
exactly. Because all we have is year to date.
Wait,
Yes, sir.
but we'll get a monthly report.
So that it shows of the month. It'll be
Right.
this as well,
Right.
but it'll show that also. And then additionally, if you could number out the amount of cases under offenses of arrest, same thing, where the ALPR was supported in that in solving
Sorry,
that case.
Can you point out? where you're looking at?
Offenses of arrest?
Offenses of arrest.
Oh, okay, go ahead. What about that one?
Specific number. Is it want specific numbers?
Right, exactly.
that Associated.
So
with
that we can see that
ALPR.
where it's supporting, and this honestly, I think supports you all as well as communities, like police are not doing anything. Well, no, here's the data to back it up. I think that kind of fills that information void also. 'Cause there's 37 there, but we don't know. I mean, I'm certain they're not all homicide. I'm certain they're not all evading reckless driving.
Do I want to know that? I just want to know they arrested, they off the street.
That's fair, but I would like to know that. And I think the community would also like to know that. Absolutely. Other than that, I don't have any other questions. Just that it would be easier, and not just for myself, but just.
I will
community.
certainly look into that with our
Yeah.
crime analyst. However, I'm gonna ask him also for all of the data for the
Right.
assessment that you would like,
Right,
along with now creating another graph
right.
for your knowledge as
Thank
well.
you.
Just to
Well, it's not just for me. I think it's helpful to the community also. There's a lot of, as you know, there's a lot of bad information out there, and I think if we start filling those voids, we can kind of quash a lot of that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Chair, is this information on the website?
Is it on the public? I think it should be.
Yeah, it comes out.
Okay.
Well, then why, the public does have information, does have access to this information. We just tell them to check the website.
In an ideal world, absolutely, but we all know that doesn't happen.
In addition, all of these are provided to the SAB every meeting too, so the SAB has the history of them, either or.
I think for the transparency aspect and to get a clear view, a broader view, it's like, wow, okay, this, LPR assisted with 100 cases in July, and you can track, okay, see where these things are actually happening rather than just a big number here. And yes, we can go back, but again, that's more work.
I will.
But having it one place, y'all will even see,
We
like,
have no
y'all can
problem,
show.
we have no problem asking, but right now our primary focus is the Ravens, so we want to make sure that that's gonna go.
Yeah.
Look at what we can get data that, I think this is, the board's recommendation first, and then, this would be like a secondary, hey, is this possible? And if so, how can we start moving forward on it?
I will tell you that the ALPR has become routine in using another investigative tool, right? Because it's just another type of technology to help us further our investigation, to help us look for additional suspects or things of that nature, right? And to kind of give us better leads. So I would say it's probably used in every single investigation that we're doing that has a vehicle associated with it for us to track that vehicle. To,
No, I follow, and I appreciate that, and I think that information is helpful. Obviously, you guys are officers. You do your job. You're like, cool, job's done. We're gonna move on. But I think it's also helpful that the community understand, hey, this technology that we have, it's not here to watch you. It's not here to track you. Frankly, we don't care what you do. But when you break the law, then that's when we get involved. And I think there's consistently misunderstanding of what the uses of a lot of the technology is. And maybe that's incumbent upon us also to do a better job and potentially outreach and so forth and on. Yeah, so to your point, I appreciate, that statement, because I'm sure it's helpful in other jurisdictions as well, where cars come through here and they're looking for one and they get a hit. And they may call you all to say, hey, it's over here. So thank you.
Thank you. Just a couple clarifications to help me read the flight log data. And apologies if you've been over this before, but could you clarify what you mean by agency assist in the call for service column?
Sure, it could be surrounding agencies called us to ask for something. Could be CHP, could be Napa, American Canyon, or something to that effect, or so it's another agency who's come to Vallejo and asked us to assist with a drone.
Got it. And what about ESU?
That's our emergency services unit, so it'd be like a SWAT call out.
And then under the airspace column, what does G stand for?
So by the FAA, they have classified airspace. So basically all of Vallejo is class G airspace, which it identifies the restrictions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry. I see here under July, it says no use, but I understand that this had to be published by a certain time for this meeting, but there was use yesterday, right? During
Correct.
that. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was out there.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I literally saw the news report and
Yes.
he was using the drone. Okay. Thank you.
we try to get everything to Naveed in an expeditious manner, so.
You had to have it out.
Yes.
Any other questions from the committee? Okay, hearing none, we can move to future agenda items. Okay, first item is offered by Board Member Stewart, board to create a work plan.
Oh, sorry. These are all mine. Sorry for not being here
Okay.
last month. In my mind, I wanted to just discuss with the board, developing a work plan and what we think that should look like. particularly, obviously I know a lot of you have privacy experience, but particularly maybe seeking council be willing to support us getting an outside expert on what we want to, on how we want to examine these documents further, especially if we're asking for more information. I think it'd be good that we have someone from the outside, if either on a retainer, if they're willing to do pro bono work, whatever that is, just explore those particular options. Sure. So in my mind, I'm looking at thinking at us developing a work plan. And what I had in mind was developing things like an audit plan for some of the technology. We get the reports, however, trust but verify. We don't know if that's the complete report. And we're also by the ordinance, we're also entitled to or able to seek outside expertise. So if that were something that we were looking to entertain, if we could propose to the council to get such expertise, either someone, again, being on a retainer, or if we're looking for someone to do pro bono work, or if we're someone who's looking for billable hours and we're like, hey, if you can come out for 3 hours on a Thursday night, what's your rate? And then we go from there.
And through the chair, if you have a work plan established, then you're able to request a budget from the city council as well.
So that's my thought, but I would love to hear what everyone else has to say. And obviously, this is only asking that we agendize that conversation.
Why can't we work out our work plan? Why do we have to have somebody else come in?
No, that's not what the question. The question is that in the work plan, we ask for what we want from the council, and then they bring in we ask for the expert to come in and work with us on developing different policies within privacy and police technology. We develop the work plan within the work plan. Yes.
So would we not consider someone from the police department assigned, just like we have a city council liaison, that there's a liaison assigned to us to work with us, that we don't incur any additional budgetary items? Everything is really, really tight as far as the budget is concerned.
Well,
I'm just
absolutely. And to that point, I would say that we would still incur that budgetary cost with having someone who is going to be here probably on overtime. But additionally, I think they're having a third party and not someone with vested interest in the PD would be a lot better, and we'd have more flexibility there.
So to the chair, for the budget, so the work plan, I would recommend that's as an ad hoc committee, that we could bring this back in your next agenda. You could go ahead and create an ad hoc committee to create the work plan, and then that work would be brought back to the board to discuss as a whole. And
They need to do. So they need to decide, they need to agendize this to decide whether or not to actually do it. And that could be included as part of it to create an ad hoc committee.
So then I would ask my colleagues here if we are willing to agendize that and give that direction to staff.
Sure.
I would support that, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so,
Doing it.
yeah. Okay.
Let's take a vote on
Sure.
whether or not to agendize it.
okay. Board Member Owen,
Yes.
okay. Board Member Cohen Thompson,
yes.
Board Member Stewart,
Yes.
Chair Lee,
Yes.
Vice Chair Moreno,
Yes.
and Board Member Ross.
Yes.
Okay, so we will go ahead and agendize this for the next meeting. And then the item would be that to create the ad hoc committee and start creating the work plan.
Are we on B now? I just want to make sure it's good with the chair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. What I what I brought up with this item was just simply reviewing the Muni code here, which I'm glad it's printed out for us. Under purpose of the ordinance here for the Surveillance Advisory Board, it says number 12 is software designed to forecast criminal activity or criminality. And so it was simply, I just want to know if we have any technology that could be classified as that. And given the discussion we had about about LVT, I think that's important to bring back. So I would ask that, and maybe that's more of a question that we can probably get in an email. So we don't necessarily need to agendize that unless it's going to make things easier for staff.
Yeah, we can provide that to you. Yeah.
I would also add, I think it's worth discussing, and perhaps even as part of the creation of a work plan and the discussion of a work plan by the ad hoc committee, maybe part of that work plan is actually coming up with a policy with respect to item number 12 here, forecasting criminal activity, just so we have that covered somewhere. I think it is wise.
Okay.
Do I need to move that forward or?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so moved.
Yes. Well, that will be an email that I'll provide to you. So
Okay.
we don't need to agendize this. Yeah.
All right, thank
Right. Okay. Mhm.
you. Oh, similar to the work plan, I guess, and that can also be worked out in the work plan. Developing a random audit policy for the department. From a meeting, I don't know, maybe April. Lieutenant Ty mentioned that he doesn't audit the drone logs. He just takes it for what it is. And for me, I wish he was here, but I kind of find that troubling because I don't want to wait till something happens for us to go back and say, hey, what do we miss here? I want to, if we're able to but if the department's able to randomly audit, or let me rephrase this, I would like to make it known that they should be randomly auditing the use of drones. So I would like it on if it's a monthly basis, bi-monthly basis, where he is required to go in and verify some of the videos and make sure that they are that they say they are, rather than we're waiting for someone to call in and then he's going back. And obviously, if it's random, he's going to miss something. That's part of it being random, but that we're able to preemptively catch some misuse or something like that. Because we've had plenty of folks come in here, mention drones over their homes, yada, yada, yada. And whether or not there's merit to that, we can't particularly say, because no one's checking the drone logs, or no one's checking the video until it's too late. So that's what my ask was there. But again, that can be put into the work plan also.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That's a work plan item. Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So this item can be rolled into
Yeah.
A. Yeah.
And honestly, so can D. But I do want to know if there's other surveillance technology in the city besides the police department, used by the city besides the police department.
Other than CCTV cameras, no. No, and the CCTV cameras that we have are in our parking lots or our public parking garages that the city owns.
Okay.
But
So
we
there's,
don't deploy any other surveillance technology throughout the city, to my knowledge.
okay. Then that answers that question, and that was it for there.
Perfect. And then, Chair, on the next agenda, we will be bringing back the Raven data that you requested earlier in action item. So.
Okay. Actually, maybe.
So moved. Oh, you don't have to.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your microphone.
I'm sorry, the chair didn't have the mic on. Was that an adjournment?
Yes.
Thank you.